A UK-based Iranian broadcaster, Iran International, says it's had to suspend its operations in the UK after mounting threats against its Iranian journalists. It comes after what the network calls a significant escalation in state-backed threats from Iran. The 24-hour channel will continue its output from its Washington, D.C. offices instead. We can talk more about this now with our reporter, Sophia Betizer, who's been following this story and is joining me in the studio now. What more detail can you give us about this?
So this was a difficult decision for Iran International. The TV network said that it was acting on advice from the Metropolitan Police. And just to give you a bit of context, last November, two British Iranian journalists from the channel were told by police about a possible threat to their lives. So because of that, armed police were stationed near their offices in West London. But on Saturday, the channel said that threats had grown to the point that it felt it was no longer able to protect its journalists. They said in a statement that this is not just a threat to our TV station, but to freedom of speech and to the British public at large. Now, a little earlier, a senior editor from Iran International spoke to the BBC. We can have a listen.
Well, what we heard from the police was that the amount of the threats was so much that actually the security concerns mounted, and it was not possible to maintain the security of the personnel. We know that this has not been a single issue. This has been a continuous effort against Iran International. The Metropolitan Police said that there have been 15 kidnapping and assassination attempts which were foiled, which probably they were aimed at Iran International.
So that's the situation for an Iranian TV station here in the UK. But we have to remember that the background to all this, of course, is the death of Mahsa Amini in the custody of the Moral Police, the protests that followed after. That impact is still being felt.
Exactly, the timing of this is significant. As you just mentioned, Iran has seen anti-government protests for the past 5 months, which have posed one of the strongest challenges to the government since the 1979 revolution. Now, Iran International is already banned in Iran, but it's become one of the main sources of news in a country where it's nearly impossible for independent journalists to operate. And that's why in October, the Iranian government imposed sanctions against the TV network, accusing them of inciting riots and supporting terrorism over their coverage of the protests. Now, Iran International said that they will continue to operate from their offices in Washington, D.C., and that they refuse to be silenced by these threats.
Okay, Sophia, thank you very much for bringing us that detail. Sophia Betizer there.